My name is Jay Sears with the Rubicon Project. Welcome to our first annual Media Owner Program in Cannes. I'm going to introduce our esteemed panel with some of my favorite descriptions, and then we're going to run through what's the world of advertising automation from the media owner point of view. Okay, here we go. So to my immediate left is Tim Gentry. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Jay.
At the Guardian News and Media. Tim has been an early and consistent leader around best practices in advertising automation. Tim also cycles to work, and he has friends that fly drones. Guardian is the third largest English-speaking newspaper in the world, and I do have some breaking news tonight about the Guardian. Okay. According to ComScore, Guardian has the highest global composition of NSA employees. So anybody here that's selling spy gear, please speak to Tim after the program. Okay.
Special context available.
Yes. It's in our Connect platform. Okay. Next is Mike Salerno, EVP Strategic Planning and Operations at Turner Broadcasting. Turner was one of the last of the Mohicans to embrace automation, and Mike told me the automation project was originally called Project Frosty because hell has frozen over. And Mike's father was a teacher in the public schools, and I'm pretty sure some days Mike feels like a teacher at work. That's right. All right. Next we have Brian Quinn. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Jay.
Chief Revenue Officer, Triad Retail Media, ex-Wall Street Journal. And Charlie, who's sitting next to him, used to work for Brian at the Wall Street Journal, just for some inside baseball. Brian co-chairs the IAB's Sales Executive Council. Okay, so and here we are talking about advertising automation. That's a signal right there. And Triad works with mega retailers. So this is e-commerce as publisher, eBay, Walmart, Sam's Club, Toys R Us, CVS. And we're going to have a very interesting conversation about first-party data. Then we have Charlie Weiss, VP Ad Marketplaces at News Corporation, the man who made it to Cannes. All right, good job. It even rhymes, Charlie. Yeah, and News Corp and Wall Street Journal, also one of the last Mohicans, so it's kind of like a Mohican convention up here in the front. Global job, global assets from Wall Street Journal to Ball, exclusive rights for European soccer highlights for digital in Japan and some other Southeast Asian markets. And what Charlie told me is, I said, if money were no object, what would you like to do? And Charlie would like to become a boat captain in the south of France. So Charlie, we're going to let you take the yacht out later. Okay. All right, and then Ann Frisbee, VP and GM Global Alliances at InMobi. So digital veteran who left Goldman Sachs to do all this craziness. Alta Vista, Overture, Yahoo, and she told me whenever something is new, that's when I like it. And I said, well, what exactly is your role at InMobi? And she said, if you're not an advertiser or a publisher, you work with me. She said, I work with everyone taking a margin. So Ann has a ringside seat as transparency drives the continuing shakeout, which I also call the Luma slide collapse. Okay, so I always like to start these things with quick stats and facts. Go down the line, and Tim, I'm going to start with you, and tell us out of each $1 in advertising revenue received by your company, can you characterize or otherwise give us the percentage of that $1 that flows through an automated channel onto Guardian-owned properties?
Okay, so in terms of proportions of our digital display revenue, then in 2012 it was just breaking double figures. This year, and now this year we're active both buy and sell side. It's in between 25 and 30%, and growing pretty quickly. It's not nearly as high a proportion in terms of proportions of our overall revenues. That's because some of the sort of content-based revenue areas like Guardian Labs are growing so quickly.
Yeah, okay, all right. And why don't I ask you to give us a forward look too in 2 years in 2016?
I think 2016, in terms of proportions of digital display, again, we'd expect it to double.
Double, okay.
What it is currently.
Okay. Okay, all right. So, Mike, at Turner, give us an idea of what does it look like today and where are we going to be in 2 years?
So we're less mature at Turner. We're probably more in the 6 to 7% range of digital advertising, and I'd like to double as well. I think I'd be disappointed if we weren't at least at 15% in a couple of years. That's where we see it going.
Okay, all right. Quinn, what do you got?
Snickers.
Ha! That's the next question. Yeah.
He's going to ask me later what candy bars we like. Okay, right, this year about 35%. And we're a little different too, especially our Walmart program. We have this revenue stream that really no one else has, shopper marketing, which is kind of separate from that. And that's still growing, believe it or not. But I think within 2 years, I'd say 55-60%.
Okay. All right. Charlie at News Corp, what's going on?
We are a lot more modest than that. 2012, next to nothing globally. This year, it's growing. I wish I could share that number with the advice of counsel. I never share that number publicly. There's no one here. There's no one here. Right. By the year 2016, though, I expect that to be a significant part of our business, not only in digital, though. That we'll be automating a lot more than digital.
Okay.
So I'll give you something.
Okay. All right. And Ann at Imobi, give us the characterization of today versus 2 years ago.
Okay, so Imobi is 100% mobile. So I'd love people's perspective on that breakout between mobile and desktop from other folks, but on the mobile side, so we only do mobile. 2012 it was 0. 2013 to now it's a very small percent of our revenue, so it's going to be less than 5% of our revenue. But we just really officially launched Imobi Exchange 2 weeks ago, so, and it's certainly a big area that's growing substantially.
Got it. Okay.
So that's sort of
Good. And so, Ann, when I tell you what you run it back down, let's hear your favorite candy bar.
100 grand.
100 grand.
Yes.
Kit Kat.
It's really York peppermint patty.
Okay, it's York peppermint patty. All right.
I'm a fan of dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Perfect place to be in Cannes and in Europe.
And mine is sort of fairly appropriate for this week. It's a Lion Bar, which is fairly. It's a UK brand, but a Lion Bar at Cannes Lion. It's about right.
All right, and I'll take a Heath bar. The next piece, my next topic is the trend from the auction market to the emergence of the direct order automation market over the last 2 to 3 years. And I want specific inside that, I want to talk about the combination of unique media and unique data. And how many of your conversations with buyers include, on the order front, include not just leveraging unique pieces of media, but first-party data that as publishers, as sellers in the market, they're proprietary to all of you. So, Tim, I know you guys have leveraged first-party data via direct orders for some time. Give us a little color.
So we have about half of our automated revenues coming through, I suppose, direct order automation or private marketplace, or call it what you will. Of those, about half of that business then is I suppose, more nuanced packages of specific context and specific data offerings. So we're there bringing our first-party data segments, typically behavioural first-party data segments, into alongside relevant pieces of context and more interesting formats. So it's certainly the predominant and fastest growing area of our business in the UK. In other territories, it seems that context is a little bit more prevalent as an interesting factor. It'll be interesting to see what my colleagues see along the panel.
Okay, so Mike, you renamed your team Data Strategy and Ad Products. So
we're still a bit of a Mohican, I think, as it relates to data. We've got a lot of work to do. It's early stages. The good news is we have a lot of first-party data, which is not something I think is widely perceived across the company and potentially across the marketplace. It's not well organized. We haven't looked at it as a strategic asset in the past, and so that's a big area of investment for us and something we're very excited about. And what we're going to do is look at data as a strategic asset, both from a marketing and programming standpoint, as well as certainly on behalf of advertisers for ad campaigns and more performance-driven campaigns. So it's right now the private marketplace is where the opportunity is. How much we use data, it's very early, but we see it as a real big upside and an area of focus and investment for us.
great. Okay. All right. And Brian, Triad, e-commerce businesses as publishers, and what I love is you said, quote, when Walmart thinks of a banner ad as a product, it will be their highest margin product.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the average e-commerce margin is 3%, and if when we sell a $100,000 media campaign, Walmart makes a lot more than 3% on that. Unfortunately, they get more than we do.
Yeah.
Okay, it's their site after all. They don't actually think of it as a product yet, but they certainly love the revenue, and I think that when we talk to new retailers that are resistant to doing this, there are still many that don't do it, which is shocking. We talk about that. We talk about if we can deliver $20 million to you in net revenue, say in year 2 through a media program, that's like $1 billion in e-commerce sales. And that's a lot of e-commerce sales.
Yeah,
we also talked about, look what Amazon's doing with their own team. All that revenue is just driving back into the business to compete with you. So why would you not? And we handle everything. So it's a pretty compelling case, but some people are still resistant.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Charlie, News Corp.
Yeah,
First-party data.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of first-party data with privacy as a chief concern, of course. But we put it up for sale and connect. We have packages with basic demographic data and basic behavioral targeted data. But the big thing I want to try to change in 2014 is to look more at viewability and page level data and stuff that I think is more attractive in the traditional programmatic market, because the stuff we've been putting in for sale is really focused at branded dollars and at branded CPMs. And sure, we've had a few people come in, but the scale is really being able to offer data that's important to a DSP or an agency trading desk to try to get higher CPMs in the programmatic space, rather than going to a guy that's used to buying remnant and saying, now you're paying this amount. It's like, why would I ever pay you that? That's absurd. But when you view it as something that helps an ad perform, it doesn't seem so crazy. So over the next 6 months, that's a big push for us.
Okay. All right. And you said mobile's awesome because there's so many new data signals. It's been a little chaotic, but you guys have really done a lot of organizing there for the buyer.
Yeah, so I think on the mobile side, probably one of the biggest things is whether you're getting. We have a lot of in-app inventory, right? So in Mobi, is a majority of the inventory is app inventory from publishers, and most of that is a vast majority of that uses our SDK. And that's really where we get most of the best data to leverage for the buyers and help the publishers make more money. Predominantly, I would say, lat-long signals have obviously been huge use on the programmatic side to date, so a lot of hyper-local targeted campaigns at very good rates, and very clean device IDs, so the ability to identify users effectively. But data and mobile, I mean, people are, most of the buyers when they buy audiences still are very cookie oriented and don't have device ID pools, so it's pretty early, the ability to kind of really understand audiences and buy against them in mobile.
Yeah, good. Okay, yeah. All right. Now I'm going to change topic to direct-to-order automation, and Charlie, maybe I'll start with you on this. So, what among the News Corp portfolio of properties, which handful have really embraced order automation, and what kind of reaction have you, as you've rolled that out, have you gotten from the sellers on the ground?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I like to say the New York Post and all of our assets down in Australia are really embracing the idea of order automation and looking for ways to push the envelope, as well as just getting new buyers that they formerly did business with on a direct basis and say, no, let's go through programmatic because I don't want to deal with billing headaches or delivery headaches or optimization. So there's been a lot of that at the New York Post as well as down in Australia. The headaches, there's a few headaches. Some sales reps have embraced it. A lot are still on the fence, but each day more and more people want to learn more about programmatic inside News Corp, and that's a win for me.
Yeah, good. Okay. Started using Connect. I know you were getting a lot of takers, so.
Yeah, I think, well, in terms of automation, just that conceptually, we see that as a response across all of our brands anyway, and across television and digital as well, as a response to client requests as much as anything. Certainly from our standpoint, there's a marketplace in programmatic, and we've entered that, and we feel really good about it. Automation, if it's helpful to clients, it's meaningful to us. We want to serve clients as well as we possibly can. We've got a pretty good machine as it relates to television in particular, and digital as well. It's a little more challenging. But if automation is demanded from the marketplace, which we see that happening very clearly from a number of key players, we want to be there.
Yeah, good. Okay, Quinn, at Triad, you have a lot of your brands represented in order automation, and so much great kind of marriage between the media piece and it's really a data story too.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking just the other day. I mean, I've been with Triad for 4 years. When I was interviewing for the job, the word data was never mentioned. So now it's very much front and center. And when we signed on eBay, we were negotiating with them. We found out they were selling their data to Blue Kai.
Right.
And we told them, you have to stop doing that because that is so important to the success of the media program that we're inheriting. And they stopped it. And it was a big initial revenue hit, but now it's driving a big part of the business. Not just on the site, but off. We've got big investments in the eBay audience platform, and it's giving us access to mobile and something we've never really had, which is video. So because the data is so powerful, we can build in margin off-site in the different kind of media assets.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. And orders are on your roadmap, right? We're 2 weeks in, but
Well, it's really what drove the partnership with Rubicon.
yeah.
So we
Rubicon?
and we love Rubicon. No, it really is because we had global trading agreements from the holding companies and brands, and they were saying, hey, we want 25% of this to be programmatic. We had been running a program ourselves, but it didn't have all the controls we needed to do a great job for a $5 or $10 million buy from a major top 100 clients,
Yeah.
right? So really, I think your platform really gave us that capability. So it's certainly what drove us to do the partnership.
Good. And Tim, I mean, you've been doing direct order automation really from the get-go, aren't you?
Yeah, as soon as we could.
Yeah.
Really. I think we're quite fortunate in that we're a fairly progressive brand, and that sort of follows through to the internal culture as well. And so we didn't really have too many of the. I mean, there were some conversations, but we didn't really have too many internal battles to fight. And I think the thing that helped us in that was just having a real clear value of the value of our assets. And when one knows the value of a particular audience segment, piece of inventory, then it really doesn't matter if that's sold in one channel or another. We can open that up fairly straightforwardly. I think that there are challenges that still exist. I think I'd agree with some of those comments around the level of scale around some of those more sophisticated private marketplace buys is still reasonably nascent on any one individual line, and I think that's partly perhaps because we're still using fundamentally biddable, performance-driven technology to facilitate what is now a different sort of business. And I know that different parts of the infrastructure are developing to answer that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. So my next comment or area is unified negotiation, and Ann, you kind of just touched on this, but I want to talk with each of you about how your conversations with trading teams or investment teams are coming together or are not coming together, as the case may be, around bespoke programs, order automation, and auctions. So how many instances are you or your other sellers walking into where maybe a couple years ago not part of the conversation, and now it's a unified negotiation across those types?
Well, Group M likes to make it a unified discussion.
Yeah.
That's what I would say, and I think we do a lot of joint business plans with the direct advertisers and agencies in a three-way deals, and in that case, people want to look at this at a long-term strategy level, and so then programmatic tends to come into that picture for sure. On the mobile side, though, I will say that there's a lot of questions on the best way to buy still, because I think Tim's right to say that if you know what something's worth, then automation is quite an easy process.
Yeah.
But if you actually don't know what something's worth, or you need someone to figure out how valuable a data signal is to you and optimize for that, then automation is not a very great process for that. So I think it's a little bit on the early side for mobile because of that, but certainly the buyers would like that. A lot of the buyers would like it to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, for us, it's been kind of awkward getting those RFPs where it'll be like, oh yeah, we want bespoke, then we want this here, then we want that here, and for the programmatic client, you talk to her, and for this, you talk to him. But if we negotiate together, and sometimes it's separate, it hasn't really had a cohesive thing that's come to us, unless it's from a client directly. But
Okay.
dealing with agencies, it's still very separate that I found, where one person will want to talk about the bespoke custom execution, and then someone else will come in with a programmatic line, but they want on the same IO or same RFP or same billing. Yeah.
So still a little balkanized on the
Exactly.
on the buy side.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mike. Let me ask you about Turner. How does that come
I
together?
would say auction is not part of the conversation traditionally at this point. We look at that a little bit separately. We'll learn a lot. We learn a lot every year, and I think we're going to learn a lot in the next couple of weeks as we move through the upfront. Digital continues to be a bigger and bigger part of the traditional television upfront, and as those requests, as those conversations evolve from just a traditional television negotiation and include digital, I think that's where programmatic comes in, and we're learning a lot every year is how much opportunity there is for us to combine those conversations and be smarter about how we get in front of the deals and all the deal points.
Yeah, got it. You're focused mostly on the order piece, Brian, or are you looking across auction too, and how does that work with you
Yeah,
guys?
well, I think that we, particularly with eBay, when programmatic happened, we quickly, I think, created a world-class team. eBay was all on board. They dedicated a lot of internal resources, data scientists and stuff to this thing, and we went out really big in 2013, and not. I think a lot of content publishers, are probably a little more cautious, and like your place,
Yeah.
where I used to work, and we went out big, and we
That was your decision, though, right?
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a sinking ship when I see one.
On a boat.
All right, bite your tongue.
Wall Street Journal was wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Yeah.
I
But
said there'd be no controversy on this man.
I'm trying to compete with the French agency guy from last night.
This is actually-
What's with the fraud with your subscribers? No. So no, but we went out big and we offered up the good stuff. I mean, because it's all about driven by this first party data.
Yeah.
And what the challenge is the revenue starts flowing, and then it's the mix, right? Do you have the mix right?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of incentives to turn exchange business into private marketplace business. And what's the value of that for the advertiser? Because there's a lot more work to do that. So we want to have more kind of upfront positions. Like if we're talking to Samsung, like what are the seasonal opportunities? What's the data that really matters to them? What data can they own? And then you combine it with on-page lockouts. We're unlocking mobile for the first time in Q4. So how to package that completely, and it just becomes the way that you buy it. So, it's rapidly changing so fast, and you really got to stay ahead of it to make sure the mix is right.
Native programmatic. Oxymoron are the future.
So I think where we do see combination, when we think about native at The Guardian, we tend to think about branded content. So something that's a little richer than just a picture with a bit of text next to it. So something that is really, I suppose, seizing the core competency that we and other content publishers have of storytelling, and brands more and more want to tell their stories. They want to create environments which genuinely engage audiences. I think the interesting role of programmatic there is not necessarily that it is a core part of how you deliver a piece of branded content. It clearly isn't necessarily, but it does have a really interesting role to ensure that the right audiences connect with that branded content, and then also that those audiences that are engaged are then followed up and activated. So we do that by combining our branded content agency Guardian Labs with Guardian Response Plus, which is our publisher's trading desk.
Got it. All right, and talk about it in Moby, because that was a big part of when we announced this, and the native piece has incredible reach for native. It really is native at scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've gone kind of all in on native, and have provided a kind of full stack for publishers to take our mobile native platform and use it, because it's performing much better for them than the 320 by 50s aren't great. I know you guys know them, you've seen them, you've accidentally clicked on them. But the return for the advertisers on the native experiences in mobile has been about 5x better. Publishers, probably the CPMs are somewhere around 6x higher. And we do think that there's an opportunity to buy it programmatically. We have submitted a spec to the OpenRTB to get a native extension out, breaking down the creative into components, and I think it's a big opportunity.
Yeah,
I
explain
really
the
do.
component piece, because I think that's it.
It's
People need to
really
understand
similar.
that.
In a lot of ways, it's really similar to Vast, where the creatives can handle what's in the box and the payload, and then the programmatic just needs to know how to plug it in. So that's really the way we've kind of approached the spec, and so we're trying to unlock it. There's only a few kind of platforms now that have those capabilities to do that buying, but we expect big change over the next few months. So.
All right, good. Do you want
We see them as closely related for mobile and native in particular. It's interesting with news brands. There's at least three news brands on the stage, and it's interesting territory when you start thinking about native with news brands.
Yeah.
So the safer place for us has been to think about it in terms of mobile across some other brands, but they're clearly related, and really it should be both. I mean, to the extent that we have native solutions, we want our direct sales force to be very good at activating sponsorships on behalf of clients across all of our brands, and native should be a big part of that also.
Do you view it needs to read sponsored by so-and-so all over it as a news brand?
I'll leave that to the standards and practices folks to define exactly how. I mean, and look, it's new territory. It's like anything else in this space. It's new territory and it changes, and we try different things and we see what we can get comfortable with, what the marketplace will accept, and what S&P and the lawyers feel comfortable with also.
I'm like just so over the native thing, Jay. I mean, like, so the
Going for it.
Tell us how you actually feel.
no, but I mean, it's like means everything and nothing. It's just kind of like programmatic and whatever. So like the New York Times, like early this year, here we are. They're launching their native ad solutions, and I looked at it. It was Dell, and like 5 years ago, that's called a mini site,
Right.
and it has contributed articles from Dell, and it says that, and the only way you get there is you click on the thing, which is kind of like an ad,
Yeah.
and then you might read. It's stuff like that where it's, here it is, the future. And it's like, no, it's not. It's the same thing. And then if it's native, like the way Facebook sells mobile, well, that's just what it is. That's just the ad. I mean, so I don't know. Is native going to be programmatic? Yeah, for Facebook and mobile when it's just part of the in-stream and stuff. But are we going
I do
to?
think the snackable, like the nature of the way consumers use mobile devices with very snackable content that can be very quickly consumed, it's very difficult, I think, to have great performance when you have kind of this, like, what feels like a very floating, disjointed little unit, right? And so somehow I think we have to bring better consumer experiences in mobile devices that didn't just necessarily take what was in desktop, right? And I agree that is native the right word? I don't know. It's the word we're using, but I do think that the goal of that integration that gives ultimately better results, I feel like, for everyone, is, I think, an important move, right?
Facebook, I think, has been so smart about how they've talked about their mobile strategy, and I completely agree with you. It's really just a function of that's where their traffic is, and so they monetize across screens in a smart way. And so come out and make some noise around how much of your revenue is driven by mobile. It's a function of where their traffic is, and so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy to some degree.
I mean, it seems like a big part of the native story to me is what we were talking about as far as the component parts, and basically assembly now can move kind of to the endpoint.
I just feel like, I mean, at least in mobile, there have been, new mobile-first publishers, right, that weren't leveraging advertising revenue at all because the experience was so disruptive to what they were trying to do to the users. And I think what the ability that Emobi, at least what we're providing to publishers, is now they can fit the advertising in their experience in appropriate ways, and it actually brings them into the fold as publishers, into the ecosystem. And I think a lot of them are testing things that I think are great examples for you guys, as you have these great experiences, to test those things too, right? So.
Let me switch to the topic of sales compensation, and let's just go down the line and have you guys tell me, yes or no, do you compensate your sellers on the automated channels, on orders and auctions? So Tim, you want to?
Last time I looked, $1 was $1 and £1 was £1. So yes.
Try to find the PC way to answer without pleading the fifth. I mean, look, I think we try not to create disincentives, and so the short answer is probably closer to yes. But the comp plans are complicated, and certainly we don't want to create any disincentives for new parts of the market.
Ryan?
So like on our eBay team, which is big robust programmatic, we have a dedicated programmatic team that works very much in tandem with the direct display. If it's a PMP, everybody gets paid. If it's just exchange money, only the programmatic gets paid. So there's a big incentive for everybody to switch to PMP.
Got it. Charlie Weiss.
Yes, in any currency. We give them cash.
But Charlie, I asked you last night.
Bitcoin. We give them bitcoins. That changes. We'll cut that.
We talk about Bitcoin next, some of my heads hurt.
Yeah.
But Charlie, I asked you last night, you said you put this plan in place 1 year ago, and I said, how many dollars has it motivated being sold?
Well, okay, it's been in place for about a year for everybody, and it's the fourth quarter, and today's Wednesday, so none, really. But no, we have dedicated programs. Yeah, our fourth quarter, yes. Australia. No, but we do have dedicated programmatic sellers, and we have buys that come in, and a rep will get money as a result of a programmatic seller bringing something in for a rep that has not necessarily worked with that client immediately or in the near term.
Right.
Okay. And what's the plan at 2 weeks in?
$1
at
a dollar.
Emobi?
Totally agree
$1
with the Guardian, yeah.
Okay.
I was
$1 a
made
dollar.
too.
I am.
Okay. All right.
So I actually am a little, our program's new enough that I'm actually also with you that, there's still a lot of fear, so, is this taking my money? Am I losing more control of my relationship? I mean, yeah.
And what do you tell them?
It's all going to be okay. It's all going to drink some rosé. Come to Cannes. It'll be all right.
There you go. Exactly. All right. Good buddy. Any issue. Let's talk about markets around the world, and just and maybe I'll
Yeah.
start with you, but like leaders or laggards, like where is it booming, and who are the people you're going to give up on?
Yeah, so, I mean, just a little history of Emobi. So our largest revenue region is Europe, the EMEA region. Our two largest countries individually are US and China. So anyway, we love all the regions. And we do everything on a global basis. And I think what's going to be interesting in programmatic and even in digital in general, right, is, the world is just much more flat. On the mobile side, you really see that spending, right? And I feel like it's really gone untalked about, right? You've got, Facebook, majority of their revenues outside the U.S. Google, majority of their revenues outside the U.S. And Emobi, certainly, majority of my revenues outside the U.S. And we already saw in programmatic in the program we launched 1.5 years ago, the third biggest country people were trying to buy inventory on was Argentina, and Brazil. And We have, buyers, DSP buyers in Korea now that connect into the network. We have DSP buyers in China that connect into the network. So these are very new areas for those markets. They're certainly well behind where the U.S. is. The U.S. is just, there's very little demand programmatically outside the U.S. in general, but we already see in mobile that you've got companies starting, right, in all these markets.
Yeah, good.
So certainly.
Okay, all right, Charlie, do you want to go next? And actually, when we finish this piece too, then we're going to go to our word association.
Oh, finally.
Yes.
That's why everyone's staying.
Yeah, okay. At News Score, we work primarily in the US, UK, and Australia. I find with programmatic, at least at News, the US and Australia are the best markets to work with and kind of very much want to embrace it, at least from a news perspective. I like everyone in the UK, and I realize where I am right now, but I find Europe to be a bit trickier, just because the market is a bit more fragmented, where I'll do one deal that's very different in Germany from the UK and very different in France from the UK. So it's tough to grow at scale across all of our titles and just view it all as we're doing business in Europe. It's very different by country. The biggest area I really want to get into is Southeast Asia, which we're launching in July with you guys for our soccer website, as well as China. I think it's an interesting market to get going in China, but it's very, very tricky because of data security. So I don't see it scaling anytime soon, but I would love to find a way to get going in China.
Okay, just launched in Europe.
Yeah, we just got our first European retailers. We're trying not to scare these people. Okay, we just got them to say, I'd like to have some ads on my site.
Yeah.
And so we certainly don't lead. We certainly don't lead with it. We try to tell them more on the core kind of shop marketing foundation that started the company. I think what's interesting is we talked to Jay Stevens about what you guys are doing internationally. I think one of the biggest challenging markets for programmatic is Germany because of all the legacy of the sales houses there and stuff.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is two of our first retailers are in Germany and there's no legacy because they never sold ads before. So we think that can be good for you guys.
All right, very good. Yeah, good for you.
All right.
I'll get us closer to word association. It's not an area of focus for me, so won't comment. I think it's still new territory for Turner in general. CNN's our biggest brand internationally, and so that's where we'll focus our efforts going forward.
Got it. All right.
I think my observations would be that the UK is quite interesting in terms of levels of complexity and sophistication, but doesn't always have the scale to back that. The US is where the scale is, but doesn't always require the same level of sophistication. And then Australia seems to just dive in a very sort of just Aussie way, having a barbie, jumping into the pool and just enjoying themselves, and they're very, very progressive and embracing programmatic very quickly.
Best business trip I've ever been on.
And in Europe seems to be, I suppose, it's an industry observation more than a Guardian observation, but Europe seems to be very interesting in terms of collaboration. So when one looks at Laplace and the work that's happening with Rubicon and in Czechoslovakia and Denmark, I think for me that's quite interesting to think about whether those models, which are certainly delivering returns in those local markets, have validity at a more global level.
Good. Okay. All right. So that brings us to word association. You guys got to help me keep this moving. I'm going to mention a word or a topic, and then I'm going to run down the line. Tim, I'm going to start with you. And the first topic is Maurice Levy.
Top to top.
Paris.
Confused.
French.
Coca-Cola.
Plan B. John Wren.
Very important customer.
Oh, come on.
On a boat in France.
Suit.
Underpaid.
Pepsi.
Plan B. Martin Sorrell.
2 times John Wren.
London.
Accountant.
Dominant.
Sir.
That's good.
Smirking.
Gotta go with
Hard. Tim. Hindsight.
IDK.
Nice job planning.
Competitors.
fuck up.
All right, automation, Tim.
Purveying.
The future.
The words automation?
Automation.
Oh, now.
It.
Selling.
Year of. Programmatic, Tim.
Probably A bit passe.
Right. Very progressive.
Somewhat meaningless.
Ubiquitous.
My job.
Now they call it automation.
First part of the puzzle. All right. Workflow.
Still needs improving.
Workflow.
Boring.
No more RFPs.
Still Excel and fax machines.
Workflow.
Yuck.
Second part of the puzzle. I'll switch it up. And first party data.
SDK.
Important.
Gold.
Nectar.
Value prop pillar.
Supply constrained. The IO. And
The IO.
the IO.
Money.
Still being faxed.
Brian.
Still like them.
Print.
Hanging in there.
All right. Always on. The RFP. And
Money.
Cash.
Only 15% get bought.
Still relevant.
Yeah, same again.
all right. And the percent of spend in FTE agency
No,
compensation
no
model.
comment. No comment.
No good comment that I can make public.
All right. See Charlie after. Brian.
Save it to me after.
It's just constantly being talked about.
Tough business.
And we're talking about agency compensation models
Yes.
from clients. Okay. Yeah. So that's. I think that model is yesterday.
Yesterday. All right. So you're okay. All right. Conflicted. I was gonna say. And pay for performance agency compensation models.
All these have problems. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say.
Can work with changes.
It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. No. I mean, not really.
Evolving.
Is that never going to happen without the agencies
It's
getting
hard on
screwed?
one word. That's not like.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We'll do one paragraph.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Slow
Prepare your written
association.
statements.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I think the reality is that.
All right. That's like 15 words. Come on.
It is. But it's an interesting issue. It's an interesting.
It is
it's an
an issue.
fight,
It's an issue.
isn't it?
Issue's
So,
the word.
the paper performance compensation models exist today, certainly when it comes to delivering price guarantees. So it's absolutely prevailing.
If we have a counter.
I said it's hard on one word.
All right. I was gonna say aligned. All right. Tim. Yahoo.
Still slumbering.
Finance.
Yesterday.
$32 billion.
New logo.
9 lives. Tim. Start with Microsoft.
Giant.
Windows.
Not a media company.
Skype.
Booting up.
Booting up. Very good. All right. New CEO. Google. Tim.
IPTV and cars.
Machine.
Space. Satellites.
Search.
Shopping Express.
Frenemy. Facebook.
Data.
Figured it out.
Mobile data.
Causing Google problems.
Intent. AOL. Tim.
Upfronts.
Ad stack.
Rooting for them.
Acquired by Yacht.
All right.
Life insurance.
All right. 9 lives. The 24-year-old media buyer.
It's me. Data.
Yes,
Data.
you're right next to me.
Data scientist.
Drunk.
Did we bring the good bagels?
Engineering degrees.
Drinking.
All right. Math major. The 50-year-old managing director at the agency. Tim.
Change manager.
Still sober.
Grecian formula.
Evolving.
Drinking. They're drinking
Drinking.
too.
Hiring math majors. The client. The advertiser client.
Storytellers.
Confused.
Friends with IT.
The client.
Friends with IT.
Visionaries.
Love them.
Data driven. Television budgets.
Still growing.
Large.
Duplicative.
Blurring lines.
Coming to digital.
The mother lode. All right. Our final two, rosé fueled negotiations. Tim.
Much more fun.
Brilliant.
Not as much fun as rosé fueled panels.
Proceed with caution.
Headache.
All right. Do not try this at home. Okay. Our second annual media owner program in Cannes in June 2015. Tim, bring it home.
Bigger yacht.
Sounds good. I like that one.
Must see TV.
I must see TV.
Over there on Gems.
Gems, that's the motto. Tasteful, just so tasteful.
Fun.
All right. RSVP now. Thanks, everybody.
Seen that was USA playing.